Winnie the Pooh is back and he's not fucking around. So last night I went and saw Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 2 at my local theater on opening night. The sequel to Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey, the infamously bad Winnie the Pooh slasher movie. So heading into this, I was actually expecting a much improved movie from the first one, and that's because, well, first of all, I saw the initial Rotten Tomatoes score, and it was pretty good. It was a small sample size of critics that had reviewed this movie, but so far the reviews were pretty good, and we all know that that first movie was very low budget, and it turned a massive profit of around $5 million, which is really good considering the budget that movie had to work with, and it really just turned a profit because it was Winnie the Pooh, and it was just the novelty of it all that drew people to it. But let's be honest, that was a very bad movie with very bad acting, very bad special effects. It was infamously bad. But this one, I was expecting a big improvement, and I think that's exactly what we got. Now, don't get me wrong. This movie still had plenty of flaws, and I would not totally agree with the Rotten Tomatoes score that this currently has. I didn't think it was that great. I still left the theater feeling a little underwhelmed and that this movie could have done a lot more, but for the most part, massive improvement over Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, the original. And I think that's really important given that Jagged Edge Productions, who produced this movie, wants to continue on with the series as well as create a cinematic universe of sorts, kind of like the Avengers with different other characters that we all grew up with in our childhood, Pinocchio, Tinkerbell, Bambi. They want to do a bunch of horror-themed stuff with those characters, and they're all supposed to come together at some point. We'll see what that looks like, but I think it can be successful if they continue to build off this movie, given that it was a big improvement from Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey 1. So this thing is definitely on the right track. It was a big step forward from the original, but let's get into the details, the thick of what I liked and what I disliked about this movie. So, of course, this movie was made, again, by Jagged Edge Productions. It was directed by Rice Frake Wakefield and written by Matt Leslie. And Matt Leslie, if you don't know who that is, was the main writer involved of the 2018 horror movie Summer of '84. And if you guys have seen that movie, it was a really damn good movie. I really liked it. I saw it last year on Amazon Prime Video. And when I heard that he was involved in this, I had high hopes for this movie because I think he's a very good storyteller. And this Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey sequel definitely had a lot more of a story than the first Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. So even though this movie underwent a complete overhaul of the cast and characters and what they looked like, this movie still tried to take place after the first Blood and Honey. And it puts Christopher Robin in a setting where they call it the 100 Acre Wood Massacre in the first movie. And after that, Christopher Robin has to try and redeem himself, given that this town thinks that he killed all those people in the first movie. And no one believes in the Winnie the Pooh thing, except for a select few people that go out hunting for him in the woods, and they get killed by Winnie the Pooh and all his friends and everything like that. Because there's a lot of kills and there's a lot of blood in this movie. But on that other side, you have Winnie the Pooh and his friends Piglet, Owl, Tigger, and they're pissed off and they're tired of living in the shadows. And so essentially, Christopher Robin and Winnie the Pooh are antagonists to each other, and this all leads up to a final showdown between Christopher Robin and his crew versus Winnie the Pooh and friends. Starting with things that I really liked about this movie, number one, I do like the complete redesign of the characters. I like the redesign of Winnie the Pooh and Piglet. And then, of course, we didn't get Tigger and Owl in the last movie, so it's really just Winnie the Pooh and Piglet that got the substantial improvement because we didn't have those other characters. But I like these guys better. I think that it looks a little more realistic. It looks a little bit more like a humanoid figure, whereas in the last movie, it just looked like two people in a Winnie the Pooh and Piglet mask. There's also definitely a little bit more style to these characters and the way that their mannerisms work and how their kills are. Like Winnie the Pooh is very reminiscent of like a Michael Myers type character. Piglet's a little bit like a Leatherface from Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And then you have Tigger, who sounds like Freddy Krueger, and like you see him when he kills people and they just like show like claws going back and forth, and it sounds like Freddy Krueger with his claw and the Nightmare on Elm Street movies. But this time with this set of characters, you actually kind of care for them a little bit and don't want them to die, whereas in the last movie, every single character in that movie was just cannon fodder to be killed by Winnie the Pooh. But because there's kind of a love interest in this movie with Christopher Robin and this girl that he's friends with, and because there's other people that are involved in Christopher Robin's life, that creates a motive for Winnie the Pooh and why he's killing. Now, one of my biggest complaints about the first movie was the cinematography and just the obviously fake special effects. Like, we all know that a lot of the gore in that movie is CGI and special effects, but it was just so fake it wasn't even funny. Huge step up in quality in this movie. The cinematography was much better. This looked like a professionally shot movie, whereas the other one kind of had the quality of a local car dealership commercial. Now let's get on to some of the things that I didn't like about this movie. So I just complimented the cinematography and the huge step up that we got in this movie. That said, the lighting was a problem for me in this movie. Now, maybe it was just the theater that I was in, and if I were to go and rent this movie again and watch it at home and turn up the brightness, it would be a little bit better. But the lighting was so bad at times for me personally that when Winnie the Pooh was having a kill that focused in on the gore, I couldn't even really see what was happening. I'm like, okay, I can see someone is getting killed, but like I don't know how they're getting killed, and I just hear a bunch of screaming. And then as far as the kills go, I thought most of them were alright. There's a lot in this movie, so I feel like they kind of go with quantity over quality. There's not a ton of uniqueness in Winnie the Pooh's kills. And then one thing that really just kind of irked me, it's like a pet peeve that I have, is there is a point in this movie where a police officer or investigator gets killed by Winnie the Pooh while searching the 100-acre wood. And they cut away from that and show kind of like the cave or wooded area that the kill is taking place in, and then you just see blood splattering everywhere. And it's like, come on, why are you shooting this like it's a PG-13 movie and we can't see what is going on and we can't see the gore that is involved in this kill? Like, you're a rated R movie, show what the hell is going on. I also just really did not care for the owl character in this movie. This is more of a personal thing, a personal issue that I have with this movie. Others might feel different. I just thought he was a little too human looking for the role. I thought he kind of did too much. I thought they featured him too much considering he wasn't a part of the last movie. And there's a part at the beginning where he like gives this Shakespearean type speech and dialogue to Winnie the Pooh and Piglet about how they need to get their vengeance on this town. And it's like, shut up. You like, we're overcomplicating this. This is Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, and all his friends, and they're just supposed to be wrecking shit, okay? We don't need all of this. We don't need too much backstory to that. And at times they kind of made it to where the owl character was like the leader of the group, and I just didn't like it. I didn't like his character. I didn't like the way they featured him, and I thought that he should have been a little more complimentary to Winnie the Pooh instead of like the co-star. Like, they essentially chose the owl character over Piglet in this movie, which is stupid considering the role that Piglet played in the first one. At least he was a part of the first movie. Piglet, and if you don't like spoilers, then just turn it off. But Piglet in this movie dies in like the first 10 minutes, gets killed by some hunters in the woods. It's like they chose the owl over him, and I didn't appreciate that. There's one more character complaint that I have in this movie too. So there's a character named Cavendish, and he is played by Simon Callow. And he's like a janitor in this hospital that Christopher Robin works at, because Christopher Robin is a nurse in this movie who's trying to repair his image by helping people. But he apparently holds all the secrets, this janitor guy that keeps following around Christopher Robin and stalking him until Christopher Robin finally confronts him. But my complaint about his character is that he was extremely hard to understand. His dialogue was very hard to understand. He had some sort of speech impediment that I'm not sure if it was natural or if it was his dialect for the role. But I was sitting there in the theater and I'm like, okay, what did he just say? Because he has like a 10-minute spiel that he goes on about, and I'm like, okay, what did he just say? It didn't like ruin the movie for me or anything, but that was kind of an important subplot that I feel like we were supposed to know about in order to fully appreciate the movie, and I just didn't catch any of it. In conclusion, even though this movie still has a lot that it could work on and has a lot of different areas that it could improve in, it's a huge step forward from the first film. I'm excited to see what they do going forward, because I think if they can make this big of a jump from Blood and Honey 1 to Blood and Honey 2, it's only going to continue to get better, and people are going to start taking this franchise more seriously. So with all that being said, I recommend that you guys do go out and see this one. I think this one is actually watchable this time around. I think it's a solid movie. Has some few complaints here and there, and I'm sure you guys will too, but this is still a solid watch at the theater, or you could simply just wait and rent it on whatever streaming service. So yeah, guys, those are my thoughts on Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey 2. I'm excited to see what they do with the Poohniverse going forward, but I'll definitely be following that. But I want to hear from you guys down in the comments below what you thought of this movie. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more people can find this, and we will see you all in the next one. Take care.